Jai Junaid, everyone. Welcome to the 5th day of this Lakshana. Today is the day of truth or Satya. So, the most important thing that Jain philosophy tells us about truth is it has got two aspects. So to understand these two aspects, we need to understand that what are the two opposites of these. That way we can understand the two aspects. So the two opposites, generally we would say that not lying is the aspect of is the opposite of truth, right? But that's not the whole story. The second aspect of the opposite of truth is um, never ever never ever disgracing or exposing anyone around you for their misdeeds or for their not so good habits. The word which is used in Jain Dharma is known as ninda karna, which means not speaking negative about people. This is also a part of speaking the truth, actually. So speaking the truth is not just not lying, but it's also about not speaking bad about anyone, despite what you are saying might be the truth. But we are not supposed to be saying any truth which is unkind. A quick and short story to explain this fact. Again, from the story from my guru, Kshama Sagarji Maharaj, he spoke about how to understand the truth in more minute form, in more detail. So there was this Raja who had one of his eyes. He was blind from one of his eyes, so his eye would always stay closed, one of them, and only one of the eyes is open. So now he was one day in the mood of getting himself photographed and nice pictures, so that generations from now can remember him very well. So he wanted to get a portrait done for himself, and so he called the best of the best, the painters from the kingdom, and he tells them that you got to paint me, and whoever would paint the best would be rewarded for their best painting, or that painting would be selected as the one for the kingdom to be used for the generations to come. And now the three artists are right in front of him. They're called, they're respected, and they have to do their work. The first artist thinks that I should, if I paint the Raja, the king, the way he is with one of his eyes blind, it will not look good for the generations to come. So let me just paint him very nice with with both of his eyes open, and they're in workable condition, and about his whole beautiful structure, handsome structure. So he paints. She's getting disturbed with this noise in the class. So he paints this person as completely handsome person and generous person, and both of his eyes are totally fine. And he thinks that I will be rewarded because this is such an amazing painting he has done. So when now all three have painted one by one, I'm taking each one of them. Now when the king looks at his painting, he says that, hey, you know what? Your painting is so nice. It's so beautiful. It's so, it's so encouraging for everyone, but it's not the complete truth. It is not the truth. So I cannot accept this painting, right? So he goes and moves on to the second painter. He looks at what the second painter has painted. So the second painter had thought that I know that this king does not like lying at any aspect. So let me just paint the truth. whatever the truth is as it is. So he painted the one eye blinded king, and the way he looks, which was not a very good sight to look at. So when king looks at his painting, he says that, you know what you have painted is definitely the very core truth, but it is not it is not pleasing to everyone. Everyone would be just drawn away from this painting. Nobody wants to stand here and look at it the way you have made it. So he says, no, I cannot accept this painting also. Now, the king moves to the third painter. The third painter was a pretty smart, brainy guy. He thought that since I have to paint the king, and it should also be pleasing, plus it should also be the truth. So he thought that let me paint him in a certain way. So when the king came and looked at his painting, in when the king was when the king came and he looked at his painting, he said that what he saw in the painting was a beautiful a picture which was extremely pleasing, and it was part of the king who is actually having a bow and arrow in his hands, and with all his might I mean, pulling the bow and the arrow, and that's what the painting was about. And when you do that, actually you have to make a target. So when you're looking at the target, you naturally close one of your eyes. So in that painting, naturally, is because he was already blinded from one side, his eyes always closed. So he painted it like this with one of his eyes closed. And then he when the king looked at it, he said, this is an amazing painting. It is absolutely what you have painted is the truth, but the truth has been portrayed very kindly, and it is pleasing to the senses. Whoever is going to look is going to be pleased by the painting. They're not going to feel yucky or bad about it. So that's how he was actually then rewarded as the best painter. And this painting of the Raja, which was showing his his leadership quality, it was also signifying how brave he was, how courageous he was. And in that painting with the bow and arrow, it was absolutely showing the whole structure in action. So he was then rewarded as the best painter, and that painting was hung for years and generations to come. So do you understand the point that I'm taking you towards? If you speak the hardcore truth, you say, hey, you know what, ma'am or teacher, I didn't do this. It was her or she who did this, or my brother did this, or my sister did this, or someone else did it, or it's not my fault, it's someone else's fault, right? What are we doing here? We are actually paying attention. We are actually speaking the truth. Of course, that is the truth for the moment, right? But that truth is actually going to hurt someone else, right? Because the teacher, the parents, or the environment is going to take an action against them, and that might not be pleasing to the boy or the girl who is being hurt with our statement, correct? So this kind of truth is not a kind truth, and since it's not a kind truth, it cannot be included in the truth itself. Interesting. It will not be called as a truth at all. Remember, the first thing in the starting, I said two definitions of truth. It's not just not lying, it's also about not speaking negative about anyone. That's also a part of this truth. So now look at the first one. The first one said, I would always paint something which is beautiful. Don't we do that all the time? We never want to show anyone out there how we feel about things or how we look. And then we pose them as someone else who we really are not. We would paint our faces some amazing makeup, and we would show that we are so nice, beautiful, or we would wear these high branded clothes and show them, hey, look at the style, I'm such a stylish person, I'm up to the marks and this and that. But is that really the fact? Maybe in your home you're pretty simple, but outside you don't want to show anyone that you are as simple as that, and you may want to show others that you're also as fashionable as others, right? So when we are doing these things, which is a mismatch of who we really are, and we show and pose something which we truly are not, again, definitely everyone realizes that it's the false, even though on the face it looks that you're looking so so much full of enjoying great status, enjoying great many things, what we are trying to show them, which we are not. And when we do that, we are actually playing a game within ourselves. We are not just lying to others, but the first thing is we are lying to ourselves. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if everyone understands both the concepts, right? Number one, speaking the truth, which is not pleasing, which may hurt someone, which may be unkind for someone, is not a truth. Number two, it may seem on the outside what you are saying is the truth, but the inside of you is not true. Your core is not true. Even that truth is not the truth. Very clear, right? Now let's go to the third part. Speaking the truth so that it may never hurt anyone, never damage anyone, no one's emotions, even yourself. Not just others, not speaking negative about others, but it should also not hurt and damage your own internal self, which means no self-doubt within yourself. I mean, on the outside, you say, hey, I have such a nice hair, such a pretty hair. And then, but in the inside, in your heart, you know that you just put some polish over the hair. That's why it looks so pretty. But actually, in real sense, it's more fizzy. You get it? So when we are speaking good about ourselves, but the inside we know that that's not the truth, our whole body actually gives a response of that's not the truth, and our whole energy body actually shrinks down. And that is so true. You will not believe it. If you guys could read your energies, I mean, being a pranic healer, I have done it so many times, and I've come to this conclusion and realized that that no matter what, if we are trying to hide the truth from anyone, or if we are telling unkind truth, or if we are trying to speak negative about others or ourselves, in any of these situations, our whole energy body responds in a very, very low way, and we actually lose our energy in those moments. We are not stable in that moment. And in these moments, trust me, we are the most weakest person in the world. And the only thing which is the strongest, which can make us strong, is speaking the truth always. And what kind of truth? Truth that you believe in, truth which is never unkind, truth. If you want to expose others, don't do it in front of others. Speak to your friend in a much kind way. Take them in a side, talk to them properly, or in a day or 2 days. I shared one example with you before also regarding this. Do you remember what happened to me in the party? My friend said my friend was hurt, but she never told me that way, that very second in the party. But after a few days, she came to me and told me that, Surbhi, I was really hurt with what you said, right? And why was it happening? Because I was gossiping in that moment. So another aspect of truth is, remember that whenever we are gossiping, whenever we are laughing, whenever we are chit-chatting, we would always speak things which we don't mean. And what would we say? Hey, we just said that. If someone is hurt and they would say, hey guys, you shouldn't have said those words to us. What would you say? Hey, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean it. Don't we do that all the time? Give me a thumbs up. So many times we do it, just kidding. I don't really mean what I say. It's not the truth. I was just playing a prank on you. I don't really mean it, right? What's happening in those moments? In those moments, we are speaking the untruth, thinking that it is the truth, but because it is exposed, now we are trying to protect ourselves. So it's a really complex process. Why can't we be simple? The truth is so simple. The kind truth is so simple. Always listen to your heart. If you see the intention that I'm speaking this truth because I want to be superior to my friend, and if I expose her, people will think I'm a better person than her. In that moment, just pause and don't speak the truth then. Just wait. Try to identify your own internal feelings. Correct? And always remember one more thing, that the truth can have many aspects. One person speaks the truth from one angle, another person may see the same thing from a different angle, right? There could be a comparison. And then in that comparison, one cannot be just one-sided that only she's true and he's wrong. A very simple example in the Jain text comes for this is, suppose I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, right? If my mom says no, she's just a daughter, she's no one else, it would be not the truth. If someone else says, my little boy says that no, she's only mama, she's not a wife, or she's not a daughter, it would be still not the truth. So always remember that truth can have many aspects. So respect what others are saying to you in that moment. Always feel maybe there is a perspective which I cannot see when this person is speaking. I'll talk to this person later on and understand what perspective he or she has. Everyone gets that? Lots of points we shared, but I hope you can absorb these concepts, because this is really, really the art of living, right? How to speak, how to check, constantly check within ourselves if what we are speaking, doing, our behavior, our speech, what kind of truthful attitude is that? Always ask yourself before doing it. Perfect. Let's move on to the fifth day of our Alochana part, Art of Living Style. And on this one, today is a session on abhaksha. Abhaksha means, um, the first thing that comes to us at the basic need category is the food, isn't it? Without food, we think we just cannot survive, right? That's a very, very basic need we have. And when it comes to the food, um, we are so much full of our passions, like the passion of greed, like some examples that you guys shared yesterday. We have the passion of our own egoic sense. So we tend to eat so much different kind of foods which we are not supposed to be eating. And we are going to talk in the class today why we are not supposed to be eating those kind of foods. um, let's talk about these passions first. Suppose if I'm really, really greedy, then I may not I may not like, for my taste sense, I really, really want to um, taste something which is like the greediness of the taste sense, right? So I might enjoy some amazing food without even asking whether this food was cooked with filtered water or not, right? For example, many of us, when we go to India, we are kind of eating foods from the streets, right? We don't even know how they cook those foods, but because we have those greedy taste senses, we would just go and bang on that food and eat it because we just like the taste of it, not even realizing how it was prepared. Correct? So this is out of greediness we eat so many different kinds of foods that we are not supposed to be eating. Another example is there's greed, and there's ego, pride point. How about being pride? Suppose it's your best friend's birthday party, and it's okay, you didn't check the ingredients of the cake, and it's a pride issue for you. It's your friend's birthday party, and she would say, hey guys, hey, wouldn't you want to eat the cake I cooked for you? And then it's okay, I didn't check the ingredients, I'm okay, you just go and eat it up, right? Without checking the ingredients, it might have eggs in it, it may have gelatin in it, right? We go to so many travel destinations, do we really go and check every ingredient, what kind of things they are putting in the dough? No, we are not checking anything, because we just skip that part. Whatever is shown on the face, we look at the surface, we don't dig deep inside whether the food we are eating is really truly really truly worth eating or not. And then we also give up because what will our friends say if we don't do it? If we are in a party of four friends together, those friends are eating everything, and then you don't really get anything to eat. In that moment you say, oh, it's okay, this time is okay, one time I can eat what's there on the table. At least I'm not eating meat, or I'm not eating something extremely harmful, but I don't need to check the ingredients, I'll just eat whatever is served on my table. So we have so many temptations actually for this food. But let's understand why. Why is the food so important in Jain philosophy? You need to understand that this food serves the body. Correct? What is it serving? It's serving the body. And you know what? The body is the vehicle. The body is the vehicle to the highest path, to the highest purity. If our body is not going to function properly, that means that our destination is, we won't reach our destination on time, or even our tires our body may be dysfunctioning even before it gets up to the highest point of its purity. We may damage it much before than it's supposed to be doing. For example, we may damage our eyesight very early age, and then till the age it's 80 years old, what happens? I mean, imagine how many glasses and how many focal lenses would we be wearing. So it's just an example. Another example could be a car. If the car is not taken care of properly, would it reach its destination? No. If it is not oiled properly, it's not given the right kind of food, then it will not reach its destination properly. It won't give the average that it requires to function on the highways or on the normal roadways. And it may even happen that if we put really, really poor oil inside this car, it may actually bump, and completely stop, right? It may completely damage its functioning. So there are many aspects to it. One time it happened with us, we were in London and we were driving towards this castle, Leeds Castle, and we had borrowed a car of our friend, and we were going there, and then we saw that the tank was not full, and we went and we didn't realize what, and it was London, we didn't even know and realize like what kind of gas stations and booth stations these people had. And we thought that because it's supposed to be a good car, we should just do what's required there. But the car did not run on the petrol, it was running on diesel. So, and we put petrol in it, so the car completely stopped functioning. Later on, when we called this guy, he said, hey, the car needs diesel, it doesn't need petrol. And we could never reach to our destination. This is exactly what happens when we put the wrong food inside our tummy. Our body does not support us, it does not take us to the real destination we are meant to be going towards. So the food is so very important in the Jain philosophy. Another thing about food is creation of brain fog. There are many foods in today's times which create a lot of brain fog. What does brain fog really mean? Brain fog means that your ability to think sharply gets deteriorated. Your ability to think clearly is not functioning well, and what happens is you get blurry concepts. You don't absorb the concepts pretty well. If there are complex things happening all around you, you can't absorb all information all at the same time. So the total sharpness of the brain, the total absorption of the knowledge, the clarity of the concept, it all starts getting loosened up. And that's why the clarity is directly connected with the Samyak Darshan, right? The clarity is directly connected with your ability to see things clearly, like what we have been talking about, the fourth level of purity, which is Samyak Darshan. So that also may get retarded if our food is not of the right kind. So in the Alochana part, they talk about 22 kinds of abhaksha. Abhaksha means food which is not supposed to be taken no matter what, cannot be included in the food. And bhaksha means the foods that we can eat, absolutely. So there are 5 different categories how this has been divided. I'm gonna give you an overview of these categories so that at least you know what the Jain texts are talking about for these food items. So the first one is the foods which may cause damage or hurt many 2 to 5 sensed beings. These are known as Tras Hinsa Karak food, which means that it is really, really creating damage to the lives of 2 to 5 sensed beings. Who can give me an example of this kind of food? The food which can cause damage to 2 to 5 sensed beings. Yes, Samba.
Like mealworms.
What did you say?
Mealworms.
What are those?
Like so people roast this thing called mealworms, which are like real worms, and they roast them and they eat them.
Okay, right. So let's keep it simple. Somewhere for the sake of it, let's say non-vegetarian food, right? The non-vegetarian food is always cooked by hurting or killing these 2 to 5 sensed beings. Correct? Very easy category to identify. So this is the first type of category. But in this category, some 5 special type of fruits also come in, and they are known as Panch Udambar Phal. Its name is Udambar. I really can't tell you what are the English names for them, but these are 5 special kind of fruits which are extremely like they have inside them 2 to 5 cents beans growing up inside them, and that's why it's considered as, because it is highly taking away the lives of many beings at the same time. Yes, Sunidhi.
Is one of them figs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fig is also one of them, absolutely. The reason fig is because there are two things about fig. So what does the fig do is, fig tree has the ability to suck away the nutrition from all the plants around it. It does not let any other plant around it grow. It just keeps on sucking the nutrition from them till the point that the plants around him completely gets finished, killed up. So it has such cruel emotions inside it, the fig tree. And secondly, when you cut open the fig, there are actually 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, even 5 cents beans can be found at a very minute level in the figs. And that's the reason Jains don't take figs. Absolutely. Nice one. Okay. Let's go to the second category now. Wait a second. Let me see if there are any more. Okay. In the first category, also there comes something like the food which has fungus on it. Have you guys seen fungus developing on the food? Right? That food also gets highly deeply damaged, and 2 to 5 cents beings can actually grow inside that food. So we have to make sure that that's something we are not taking for sure. And actually, any food, if it is kept for more than I mean, today we have fridge, but in olden times, even the food which is kept for the next day, that food was also not considered to be consumed, because they know that for sure loads of bacteria grow in, and they create an environment for the growth of these 2 to 5 cents beings. So we must try to avoid keeping the food even in fridges for a long duration if it is cooked, right? Or if there are fungus on the fruits or things like that, try to manage your food properly. So that's the first kind. The second kind is the food which is harmful, which is causing damaging lives of one-sensed beings. So, which means like the root vegetables, like the potatoes, the onions, and then there are carrots and radishes. And so, according to Gen text, we are just talking to each other, right? We should at least know the facts. That's important. To eat, to not eat is a different thing. You have to make choices one day at least in your life, but at least you should know the facts. And that's why I'm sharing with you. So, what happens with this food is, for example, take potato. If you leave the potato for a few days, you see the eyes developing on the potato, and then every single eye in the potato is capable of giving birth to a new plant. Correct. So it's like just by eating that potato we are taking lives of so many sour one sense beings, which are the plants which could actually be growing on that root of the potato. Same thing with the carrots. When we are taking away the carrot, the life of the whole plant is gone, completely finished. So when we also plug the plants from its root, it's actually the same thing. We have damaged the life of many more plants which will be growing up through those roots, and it's done. So that's what these root vegetables are. Just consuming one can take away lives of many one-sensed beings there. Another category is now anishta padarth, which means that the the food um, which is not good for your tummy. It may create some kind of havoc in the tummy, and then your tummy may go in a state of creating and reproducing more and more not the right kind of bacteria, and then it starts damaging your own internal system. So these foods are known as anishtakarak. Anisht means not consumable, shouldn't be consumed. For example, when we have fever, right? Fever means your body is reacting and responding to a certain way, and body is demanding something else. But in that moment, if you're eating halwa, how about that? If you're eating laddu, right? And you can't stop eating ice creams in that moment. So those food become more damaging to your state. In any other time, it won't be that damaging, but especially because we have fever, it starts damaging our system even more, right? For example, having sore throat and then we are eating so much of ice cream is the same thing. So the foods which are not helping us in that situation, it's actually making our situation more deteriorated. For example, we have diarrhea, but we don't listen to our tummy and we are still keeping on eating these spicy and different kind of food. What happens then? Then would the diarrhea stop? No, but you're not respecting your tummy. It's going to damage even furthermore. It may damage your internal systems. It may create ulcers in the body. Many things can happen. So I know that people who eat a lot of mirchi, like very, very, very spicy food, they do develop these ulcers in their body. Their body cannot take it anymore. So we have to understand that which food is not the appropriate food at what time. This is important and this is pretty logical, correct? So next category is about the food which is not. Also, there's one more category I forgot to take for the one sensed beings. In that category, we have to understand that anything which is creating fermentation in the food is coming in the killing of lives of many, many microorganisms and many, many one sensed beings in that food. For example, they say biddal. Anyone has heard this term before, biddal? So this is like the curd. When you mix the curd with split beans, like moong is a split bean, or like curd you mix with besan. Besan is a split bean. All the beans which can be split into two parts are known as dicot seeds. And when these kind of seeds get mixed up with the curd, it becomes not really taken, because you cannot take it, because it is the food which is creating the environment for more and more of 1 to 5 cents beings in it, and we are actually damaging them, and mostly it is loads of microorganisms being fermented in that place. So it actually leads to one more concept which I'm going to take just now later on. So the next I said is anupsevya. These are the kinds of foods which are not a gentleman's choice or not a gentlewoman's choice. For example, there are people who take even as medicine. They may drink the urine of a cow to heal up. Do you know that in many parts of the world they drink the urine of the cow because it may help them from their tumors in the stomach. So these are the kind of foods, or these are the kind of food which, for example, your the cough that comes out in our mouth, we cannot take it inside. The cough needs to go out, thrown out. If you take the cough inside, that's anupsevya. That's not supposed to be taken into the body. The cough needs to be thrown out. Same thing when you have lar. Lar is like when you have excess of saliva coming out from your mouth. You should not be consuming that inside your tummy. These are all like in the category of not supposed to be eaten foods. Next category is anupsevya. I just covered that. And then let's talk about a few things like three main things. One is honey, one is alcohol, and one is non-vegetarian food. We already talked about that, right? So let's talk a little bit about non-vegetarian food. What's happening in the non-vegetarian food? Number one, the biggest one is violence caused to those animals right there, then and there, right? Another thing is that these animals have got blood and pus inside them. So in that blood of an animal, of a mammal, there is presence of 2 to 5 sensed beings. Even 5 sensed beings with the man can be present in this kind of blood, and that's why we are finishing up the lives of so many beings in that just one instant. It's not just that one animal which is being killed, but many organisms and beings which are surviving inside that animal is also being killed in that moment. So it's a huge amount of karmic repercussions for taking the non-vegetarian food. Same thing is about the alcohol. what does an alcohol do is, so another category is also mada, which means that intoxicating, the food that can intoxicate your brain and create brain fog inside you, like alcohol is one of them. And then bidal I just spoke about, mixing the curd with the dicot seeds is one of them. These have the, even sugar has this ability sometimes to create the brain fog inside us. So basically alcohol and bidal, these are foods which are created from fermentation. Loads of fermentation takes place, and the bacteria secrete acid in it. That acid is not suitable for human body. That acid actually goes directly into the brain, and it may lead to some insensical behavior from us. We may not really stay in our senses, and at a very subtle level it actually starts damaging our senses. No, a person who might be drinking alcohol might say that, hey, I'm totally in my senses, I don't take that much, I just take it in moderation. But that's not the right way, because it is so subtle, the damage inside the body, that even the body says that, okay, I will damage also in moderation, not at a high level. But what happens? Moderation damage, at one point the whole being, your whole body is going to get affected at one point, when your body starts responding to the high factor inside it. So this is the brain fog causing foods. Now, anyone has any questions in these? Okay, I didn't take honey, right? So what about honey? Honey has a few factors in it. Number one, honey is honey is not, it's anupsevi also, it is also trashinsakarak, it is also uh, toxicating. There are many things combined inside the honey too. So honey, number one, is not a normal food. It is the vomit of the bee, number one. So the bee eats up what it needs to eat up. It goes into its tummy, it gargles, it goes around, takes around, and then the bee does not, can digest it anymore. It throws out, and that thrown out liquid or the concoction is actually honey. Number one. Number two, the honey is also procured in a very in many places wrong ways. So to procure honey, they have to burn up the beehive. So what they do is they do a lot of what you say, smoke, right? To make these bees run away, and those bees which don't run, it's their home, but they make them run away. And those bees which don't run away, then they put the beehive to the fire, and they burn it in order to procure that honey out of it. Because just because of human beings greediness of eating that sweet delicious thing, what they think is delicious, but is actually damaging so many lives and emotions of so many beings in it. Number three, what's happening in honey is it's also creating because it's a vomit. So definitely there is some kind of environment created in it, which actually gives birth to 2 to 5 sense beings even in the honey. So that's why it's damaging so many beings just by eating that one spoon of honey. So these are some of the basic things which have been covered in the genetics, but in today's concept, there are so many much more foods that we eat, which we are not supposed to be eating. A few of them is like processed foods. So why is this covered in Art of Living class? Again, the same reason, that if our food is not right, it's not correct, we will not be able to, we will not be able to reach to our highest, purest state. Because remember, yesterday I spoke about the cleanliness of the outside and the cleanliness of the inside, both go hand in hand, right? Can you go around with your friend circle with a smelly body? Who would want to do that? You would say, hey, I'm really good inside myself, but not outside. I don't want to take baths. Who would do that, right? Similarly, you wanna take nice baths, but now your tummy is not right and you're farting all the way to your party. Who would want to do that? Nobody wants to do that, right? So you have to think about it, that the inside and the outside, both of your body needs to be maintained in complete balance. That's very important. There was one more interesting thing I wanted to take is about the processed foods. So these processed foods, you don't know they're using the filtered water, how they're creating it. And you guys are so creative these days. Why don't you try your hands on cooking something fresh from the scratch? right? Everyone wants to do it, likes to do it. And you are at such a young age. Why don't you create some beautiful, amazing foods, making sure it is coming from the most purest places? You are doing it yourself and making sure that no cleaning up the surfaces, cooking it clean, and then serving it. The food that will, the taste which will come out from that food, trust me, would be 1,000 times better from any processed food that you would be getting from the shelf from the outside markets. Okay, so anyone has any questions now for me? Yes, Agamya.
So you just said like try doing it ourselves. So like say we grow a plant outside and then after a couple of weeks or a month maybe and it starts blooming and it's not completely ripe yet, but then when we finally when it's ripe there's bugs on the leaves. Would it still like how would we do it? Like
Okay, I couldn't hear you properly. Are you saying that a very ripened fruit which has got some bugs around it, is that what you're saying?
like say we grew our own stuff from scratch and then finally when it's ready to be picked we see bugs in it, how would we do like
I don't understand how can bugs come in when you took care of the process very nicely. You made sure that your flour is totally fine, you made sure that everything is fine. Now if you have left that food out for a while, it is possible that some bugs may grow in. So I mean, make sure that it's covered up completely. But if bugs come in, you have to let go that food. You cannot consume it. Absolutely, you cannot consume it. Like when imagine, there are many such things. I didn't cover a lot of things. How about a banana, a completely extremely ripened banana, which has already changed its color? We cannot take it. We cannot consume fruits also which has changed its color. We cannot consume fruits or even vegetables which has changed its color. It is completely showing to us that I'm done, there is no more nutrition left in me. On scientific perspective, there's no nutrition left in it if it has changed its color. So that's how it tells you by nature that I am not an eatable anymore. And even for example, kacha kela we eat, not the kacha kela like the cooking bananas, but any fruit which is not ripened up completely for us to eat, and it is still in a very immature state. Even those fruits we cannot eat. Those are also known as abhakshi fruits. Why? Because that fruit is still in the process of making its complete body, and before that we consumed it, it's not going to be that sweet. So it has not processed all its complete functioning inside it, and it may actually be having loads of plant growth hormones in it, which means that it wants to use those lectins or growth hormones to create its own body, but a human being or an animal may take it. What happens when we do that? We get brain fogs. Even the studies say that animals can forget their way back home if they consume foods and fruits which are not ripened up properly. They get brain fogs too. So that's the scientific research. So we need to absolutely take care what kind of food we are taking in. Yes. Any other question for me? Understand everything? Anyone has any questions? I hope you guys have no doubt about eggs or gelatin. Absolutely clear subjects there. Right? Yes, I'm sure your parents must have been teaching you properly. Okay, there's one more ingredient which I can't stop talking about because it's not really exposed completely in the foods. Number two things actually. One is the coloring of the food. If you're buying processed foods, the coloring of the food, and the second one is cheeses that we eat. Please, I really, I really, I don't know how I can say, I really want you to please check your cheeses before you eat. Always check if it is saying enzymes, and if it is not opening up what enzymes it has. Trust me, it is the Rene enzyme, and the Rene enzyme is coming from cutting the stomach of a calf, a small baby cow. So please make sure that the cheeses that you eat completely has an exposed information about it. If not, go on the website, check it. So much Google available right now. Just check it what it is. Second thing I want to tell you about is the colorings in the food that we are taking. there is some ingredient known as, I think, color E120 and red 4. I think these are the two ones, but you can check directly. They are coming from carmine. So carmine is the color they're using in the food products and all your cosmetics, because it is coming from crushing the beetles. That's the only way they can get those red colors in it. And even our orange juices, our iced teas, anything which has color on it, the red, orange, or yellow colors in it, please check its ingredients if it is using those. What do you want? What? So please check these two things. I would really, because it's really damaging many lives at the same time. Okay, yes, Sunili.
So whenever I go to the grocery store, like I always see my parents checking for enzymes, but we always get like the vegetarian enzymes. Is like that okay though?
Vegetarian enzyme is fine. That means that they're using an enzyme which is grown from either soybeans or from plants. But if you will notice that not everywhere that vegetarian enzyme word is used, they would just say enzymes. That's it. They don't want to disclose that it's a Rene enzyme. They would just say enzymes. Okay, nice class. So this is again the Art of Living class. We need to make sure the foods we are eating, and please have gratitude for the food every single day when we are eating, because it's so important to have gratitude for the food, because we don't know that in the preparation of this food, some or the other being might have gotten killed in the whole larger process. We need to pay a little respect towards their lives. So please, or even while we are chopping a loki, or we are chopping some bindi, they are also living beings. So please always have gratitude in your heart before consuming any food, and make sure you make one demand when you're eating food, that I understand that and I have gratitude for your life, and I truly appreciate that this food what I'm going to eat right now is going to serve a higher purpose. I assure you, I'm not going to misuse my senses. So please make sure that you have at least those that in your prayer while you eat your food. Join your hands, take a deep breath. And now today I would want Vivan to say Namokar mantra. Vivan, you want to say Namokar mantra, please?
Namo Sapasanam, Esopancharo Safa Pava Pinasura, Namalam Jisave Sang Parnamave Manga.
Take it, everyone. Enjoy your rest of the evening.
And
Bye.